Stopping. Oh, it has started. Hello, everybody. This is Freehands Friday. I think it's either number 39 or 40 with Konrad Park. I'm Justin Levis, the host for today. And so far we've got Steve below. Sorry, Steve, if that's not how you pronounce it, but how is it?
Good enough.
Below. Okay.
Phalo. Huh?
Halo. And we might have a special guest from the Halloween raiding party a bit later, but I won't say too much about that for now. So, Conrad, where were we last time? Yes, take two for the Freehands Friday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's your earliest memory of Chapman Stick?
Yes, it's like so many other people, is that walking around listening to Tony Levin with King Crimson, you know, like we were saying, you and I were getting into that music with Discipline and Beat and Three of a Perfect Pair, and I remember, you know, and I'm sure every stickist ends up saying it, 50,000 times in their lifetime, but listening to Tony Levin with that. Especially for me, Three of a Perfect Pair, the tone that he got with that heavily compressed sound, it really just struck me as a beautifully artificial sound almost. But it was still clearly like something he's playing. And it was so exotic, it just really grabbed me, and I thought, I've always loved bass too, you know, so I thought, gee, I'd like to play that. And of course, you know, moving on to all the musician magazine one-page ad and all that sort of stuff.
Mm. Yeah, the internet wasn't really that useful at the time. That's about all we had, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Magazine. Yeah.
It was great. I think, in a way, it kind of helped to seed my imagination. I'm sure, yeah, when it's not all thrown at you through the net or whatever. There's just a few words on that interview. Emmett's was so lucid in how he communicated the ideas behind Stick, and I think that was a big part of its appeal in the initial drive to get it out there.
A lot of mystery.
Huh?
A lot of mystery associated with it.
Yeah.
It was the unattainable instrument, especially for us Australians.
Yeah. Well, you know, I said to you last week about that story when I went to Queensland. But the one time I got out of Hobart, you know, born here and based here, now I'm back here after plenty of good music and living in Melbourne and what have you. But back in, I think it was '88, and I left to do a tour. The first time I went out of town, and I went straight to Fretted Instruments to look for a stick, because I found out. I actually called my guitar friends. Have anyone seen a stick around here? Yeah. And then of course I tracked one down in Brisbane, and I was saying that there was one string missing, and it just didn't look like much. And I go, you got to be kidding me! Is that all it is? And no one was going to set it up and play it for me. So it I kind of lost interest there. I thought, yeah, it doesn't nearly seem as amazing as what I thought it was. Which I was kind of lucky to have had that experience, because then I wouldn't have got lost in Stickland so early. Being having the drum career, and
May not have been ready.
Yeah, exactly. I was totally ready for it by the time I met you, and you brought it down to Kingston and Hobart. That was one of the best days of, it was a good day.
Yeah.
Speaking of movie references, once I put my fingers on those strings, it was like, I cannot go back. Yeah.
So what's you've obviously you've brought a lot of different techniques and sort of even some drumming techniques to the stick. I suppose a lot of people now have seen some of your videos on YouTube and so on. What's the sort of thing you've been working on lately, though, or what's your interest? What's your interest at the moment?
Well, I've just been sneaking back into some kind of practice, because being first semester at uni, it's been pretty full on. I'm just trying to get myself sorted there. But yeah, last time I got on Stickist, I was talking about, if there's very little time to practice, I just sit down and try to play quietly and get that really nice motor, or really good sound straight away. Like, of course, I've had a bit of a play this morning, so I'm a little warmed up. But yeah, I've just been trying to play like songs really well from the get-go. It's funny, curiously, like I went to see Ralph Towner last night at Mona, the Museum of Old and New Art, our fabulous arts precinct. And yeah, just watching the masters like Ralph Towner and Slava Gregorian and Wolfgang Muthspiel, I think his name is. Like, they're just three masters, especially Ralph Towner was just the old gentleman playing the guitar. So I picked up Stick this morning, and I was really impressioned by Ralph Towner's playing. Just his confidence and like my phrasing slowed down, and it just really influenced my approach to playing a stringed instrument and made me feel a lot more confident. But I mean, as far as yeah, I don't know. Let's play something, huh?
Yeah.
This. We might as well go backwards from last week. I'll play that thing I finished off with. So this is a song by Tim Neal. It's called Christine. It's written for his partner. So Tim Neal's a Hammond player piano and Hammond player based in Melbourne or Geelong. So I'll try and keep that. I was thinking this morning, I'm going to try and just keep that really nice, easy kind of take your time gait that I got from Ralph Towner,
That thunderous last night.
Yeah.
Famous.
Hmm.
Yeah, with now, Conrad, you mentioned going. You're studying composition again, aren't you? Back at uni.
Wow, this is my first year at uni, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you? I presume you're trying to use the stick for composing or practicing, or how does that?
Yeah. Well, of course, being a freshman or coming in at the first term, first semester for me, which is second term this year. But
Yeah.
I'm really, I really wanted to learn all the, the essential kind of toolkit, what really makes great music work. And but of course, I've come in with that idea of wanting to have that knowledge bolster my composition through stick.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of towing the party line, and really just I wanted to come in and just be totally without my own sense of my own ideas of what I wanted to achieve, and just learn, just be a student,
Yeah.
which has been fantastic. Just to have someone else take the responsibility of the direction of where I'm going with it all.
Okay.
And just be a sort of kind of surrendered mind of the student.
The conduit.
Yeah, and then and because I think for me, I've been around the kind of musicians who have been such natural musicians, have had such command over what they do that there's if I don't understand something thoroughly, then it really grates against my conscience. I have to really kind of get into it and understand it properly.
Yeah.
Of course, I've learned how to reconcile the difference between being a student and being in that university sphere where there's a whole bunch of academia where it's all very, very much far ahead of me. But I'm just I'm getting more confident as I get more tools down.
Yeah.
So reconciling that sort of the difference there. But like I've talked to Dr. Maria Grenfeld, and she's my lecturer, and she's absolutely fabulous. Could go on and on about her, but she's highly credentialed and totally real and really into it. But I definitely wanted to, just help the composition really just strengthen my understanding of how to write. And already, like, I've had in first semester I've got four compositions, and I've thrown one of them at the swing thing, which is my drum trio with Hamish Houston, Julius Schwing. So it's just great having like compositions already made, and all I have to do is rescore them and just throw them at other bands.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's yeah. But yeah, I think well, if I had to say it, put my finger on it, most of my stuff so far for Stickrad Trio has been like really through composed, very modal.
Yeah.
But then given all the limitations around the composition, say someone says to you, make my first composition was actually based on the pitch limitation of a whole tone scale, and I was just for one flute, So that it was so good to have that limitation, because I think most people can relate to the fact that if you try to sit down and write something from scratch just through pure inspiration, it ends up becoming really, you're sort of struggling with a muse sometimes. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. So to have a bunch of tools you can come back to and say, oh, well, why don't I just try this with only these pitches? Then it's easy, But let me play you something like, I'll play you something brutal. This is what I've written, like, I don't know, 3 years ago or something.
You say brufidiful?
Brutal.
Not brufidiful.
Brutal. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Something like this, anyway.
Do you want to step back a bit? Yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, the fretboard. That'd be better. And have a coffee.
Yeah, right.
Oh, ABC.
Yeah. Maybe I could sit on the amp. How's that?
That's good.
stick, you know.
Very nice.
Hello. So, you know.
Looks like you ran out of strings at one point there. You could use a 12-string.
Yeah, Mr. Bolo. Well, that's kind of what I've really felt about stick. You know, 12-string, the 10 feels good. There's a room to move for me on the 10, you know. And one of my early sort of mandates or, you know, strong thoughts about it was I want to make as much music as I can on 10, you know, and with that perceived limitation, like I'd make it as big and as rich and as musical and as natural as I can, you know, and then find more scope, more sort of range things, just on 10, you know. Yeah, that kind of thing like this bit here. You know, like being comfortable with those kind of close range things or any kind of perceived limitation. I really like to kind of go see how far I can push it and then see how I can make it a natural thing. You know, like thumb chords and all that sort of stuff. Like it's one of my favourites is that I play with Stick Rad Trio again, which is currently the manifestation of that is with Sam Dowson on drums in Hobart here, Lord Smash bass, and I'm looking for a keyboard player, you know. But so that's I'll go back. Shall I go back there?
Yeah.
So I did one of those funny videos I did was thumb chords, the Final Frontier. You know, so yeah, that thing where you're using the thumb up on the 9 and 10.
Yeah.
You know. So the first idea was like, I don't know, some like a minor triad over C sharp. But then that was my kind of, you know, space music, mega Arnold Schwarzenegger type beats, you know, you know, cybernetics cooperating with Ascension kind of music. But then, you know, if you add the thumb chords, which is basically just the thumb on the same fret as the top note.
Okay.
So, you know, from here. It sounds like, with the thumb chord, it sounds more like, you know. Is that loud enough for you?
Yeah. We're not going to get the full clarity of it though through this connection.
Yeah. But you know, like just that.
That's support.
it just gives a really kind of more of a, it just gives a really full spread having that kind of, that thumb sound, as opposed to,
Yeah, sort of meaty organ sort of, lower
yeah,
tone.
or yeah, that's right. Kind of organish, kind of quasi-symphonic. I just think about range and texture and pitch, and you know.
Oh, I'm going to try that out myself.
Well, it's not hard either. You know what I mean? Like it's some things about the way Emmett set up the fourth and fifth tuning. I reckon that some of those things conceptually might be a little more out there. They're actually physically easy to play. Once you get your thumb, you're happy with that, and you just get that thumb is just in the same position wherever we are. So stuff like that.
Steve, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I was curious. I forgot when Bob Culbertson was here in July. I forgot to ask him. Did he go down to Australia back in May? I remember Konrad posting something about him coming down, and I posted he maybe tried the Canberra Music Festival.
Mate, we spoke to him about that some time ago. But I think there was, I don't know if he made it down here, but I think we were talking about that same window. But I think initially he was really interested in coming down, but I think a Perth festival pulled out. If it's the same trip, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So
no one caught up with him anyway.
One thing locally here, I see Steve Osborne on a weekly basis with the guitar group, adult guitar classes, and then once a month we have an annual monthly stick gathering. About 3 or 4 stick players gather at a store, and we play and share ideas and so forth. But lately I've been exposed to a lot more fingerstyle acoustic players and teachers, and I'm seeing even more relations between the guitar and stick going the fingerstyle route, and a lot of the stuff that Bob taught us back in 2010 and also at some of the seminars afterwards, it's all coming around full circle to me. And recently I had discovered something with the one teacher, his name's Bo, and I'm going to send you some of this stuff because I see all this work you're doing with triads. What we're doing now, we've taken like the triad concepts and we're adding the 7th. And when you start moving those around the modes, then you've got like the dominant 7th and major 7th. Take out the root, and then you start hearing these patterns. When you start going around like a 1-4-6-2-5 progression, and this pattern he's come up with, I start hearing a lot of popular songs. You do all these structures, and I'm thinking of this, and I grab my stick when I come home, like, wow, this is really cool. I'll send this stuff to you. I'll, type it out in the chord tones and send that to you. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. But it changed my concept of, looking at the stick. And when I first got it, I saw the similarity to a piano. But recently, with more of the guitar things I've been doing with the, fingerstyle guys, it's like, wow, I'm seeing a huge correlation there. That's pretty cool. So I'll send that to you guys. I think you'll find it really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's definitely the next step after you get kind of fluent with some of the triads, huh? It's like going for the 7 shapes. I actually started. I've got I'm such a Sibelius freak. I've got so many different exercises and stuff in in the Mac, just waiting for me to spend some time on them. But I'm starting to bring the gap, close the gap between collecting knowledge and practice. But I started working on the 7th chord type thing more recently. How you got the 7 shapes on the left side, bass side, I started as a range exercise, trying to find the sevenths over in the melody side without using the default of the sevens in the left hand. You know, because I mean, it's a great thing when you're starting out to have the sevens covered here, you know, and then you can just anyone can make something sound pretty solid if you just get that shape working for you. Solid. You know, something like this. Yes.
We'll just have to imagine because we couldn't see it.
Oh, all right.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was thinking like, definitely looking for the sevens. I can't. It's something I only just touched on like last week. But yeah, looking for the sevens and other parts of the touchboard, Stephen. It was a really good exercise.
Well, it's really cool because what we're actually doing isn't actually like playing all the notes at once. It's been more like a bass line because we do a lot of stuff where we're I hate to say arpeggiating, but that's kind of what we're doing. But then you take the arpeggio instead of starting from the root. Then once we get these patterns down, we'll start the whole song off on, say, the third, and then work our way around to the root, and then come back up, and then start the next chord on these arpeggiated bass lines. So it's kind of a cool. It's hard to put words to it, but kind of a little pattern exercise on just the arpeggiated tones of each chord, going from the 1 4 5 1 4 6 2 5 type of thing, and then mixing it up, going to other ones, and then when you're all done beating yourself to death playing all of these chord patterns, try playing a scale. It's amazing. It's like all of a sudden you feel like Superman. You can go up 1 or 2 octaves straighten and come back down like it's nothing. I mean, increase your dexterity just reaching for all these different patterns like that. And like I said, it transfers both on the guitar and a stick. I'm kind of becoming oblivious to whatever instrument I'm using, which is a really cool thing. So, something to add to playing the stick, and I'm learning on the guitar as well.
That's great. Yeah, so I suppose it's a bit of the sort of cross-pollination of tapping on 6 strings, and that's probably a separate issue, isn't it? Like, but I know there's it's like Bob. Bob said I asked him about all the different instruments and makers and different people and approaches, and he just said, well, would like to think that Emmett's the sort of foundation, the seed of the tree, if you like, and that all these other folk are recognised for what their individual contribution and the way that they just take out tapping to a whole other place. But like Emmett's like the progenitor, if you like,
Yeah.
But then there's like there's a whole different sort of a musical theory bag that opens up, isn't it? Like you're saying.
Yeah.
Being able to play the sevenths, and because I'm part of university studies, going through 7 chords and all the inversions. So I've been trying to make sure that I at least sometimes apply the knowledge I learnt in theory class to stick, and really get that. I mean, that's definitely a work in progress, but it's so good to have that laid out for you, and then try and, because as you say, the 7 chords like this, it's almost the whole scale in one chord.
Mm-hmm.
If you go 1 7 chord to the next one, right?
Yeah.
And then you consider inversions, and then you can quickly kind of cross them over into the similar pitch range, or something I wanted to offer focus, especially like ultra basic stuff. When you get on Stickist.com and you see some people, the newbies are just not sure what to do, with this thing at all. I'll go back there a bit and let's have a bit of a play. Yeah, so if you just get like one basic chord shape together, I was going to do a bit of plagiarism, Andy Salvanos plagiarism. See if I can get this together, right? So, where is it? I think it's the right key. It's off his second album, so it's wrong key. Anyway, we'll stick with the two chords, right? So I'm just using that, like third finger and two on the third string, and the two barred here. So we know that, with free hands, the parallel fourths and fifths tuning, but that's the very same fret for all bass or melody side. So I don't know, sometimes just really, if you have a simple musical thing to play, try to make it sound as strong and as relaxed and as musical as possible. Like you might start mucking around with the rhythm after you've played the chord and bass note together. So really slowing it down and getting your gait happening. It could be anything, But I think that kind of really having a positive thought about myself as a musical kind of strong player, within a really simple musical idea can really have benefits, And then, so usually we get the chords, we get some shapes, we get the bass line, and then it comes the impossible task of how to get melody and chords and bass all working together. So if you think, if you're thinking about the triad itself and just moving around between those notes, like maybe just paying attention to what notes go well with that triad. If you don't know it's a minor triad, you might just say, oh yeah, if I go out from the bottom note, okay, I need the whole step to the right and a half step to the left, Half step to the right on the next note up, whole step, just listening to the actual melody. Because once you're getting used to some kind of comfort within the triad, moving around in the triad, these ones are good. Like the second finger. Now I'm starting to think about what melody do I want, instead of going, okay, we've got the chords, we've got that default position, which is really helpful because I've got somewhere to play, But if I start thinking from there, really start singing melodies within that triad, where do I want it to go? Then, it can kind of sound a little more, it's really developing a melodic sense, Well, let me try that without the bass line. So, being aware of like choices, like even within 3 notes. If I want to go, I can do that. I can go backwards. But sometimes I want to go all the other way. So like you know what I mean. Just like paying attention to those kind of melodies can really like help make someone who's just starting out feel like they're playing a lot more musically, perhaps. Yeah, that kind of thing. That kind of thing.
Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be someone just started out though. I can't play that yet. And I've had one for ages.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the trick is like having one thing, like moving confidently from one idea out to another idea instead of. I think the big problem sometimes is like wanting to play a million things, right? Wanting to suddenly be able to go out and do all this. Whereas if you
full hand independent. Yeah, like tonight I'm gonna learn how to play fully independent with both hands. It's no, I don't think so. It's gonna take a while.
Yeah. I reckon just being confident with one simple idea helps to feed into other ideas.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like it's sounding good, otherwise if you're just moving on from one craptacular thing to the next, it's like, am I ever going to get this happening?
Trying to think what are some of the other things we touched on last week. I think last week we were talking about melody. Well, I mean, obviously, where have you been getting sort of melodic inspiration from lately? Obviously, a lot of composing is going to, as far as other players or other musicians, people you're working with at the moment, who are you ripping off ideas from at the moment?
Bob Dylan.
Oh, yeah? Hopefully he's singing or playing.
Yeah. So I had one university assignment. I picked a Bob Dylan song and I've had to rearrange it for strings and then rearrange it for brass. So actually, it's When the Deal Goes Down from the Modern Times album.
Yeah.
We did buy it.
That's a pretty average version.
Yeah. Have you got that, Mr. Barlow?
What's that?
You got that Bob Dylan Modern Times?
No, I don't happen to have that one.
It's a lot of fun. But I took the melody and I don't know, I just played it like a couple of mornings ago, playing along with his vocal, on the CD.
Mm.
I was just it really struck me as the masterful way that he takes a few notes and just makes them magic, I don't know. I don't know. It's only like if you think about the notes themselves, I can't quite remember where they are, but it's only that many notes in like a few frets.
Mm.
He's just he's the phrasing that he uses to create the melody with those few notes is incredible. How much he gets out of it. I haven't had to play that thing yet, but yeah, like I think that's another one of those sort of strong thoughts I've had about playing stick is to play along with vocalists.
Oh yeah.
Like really try to play like a horn player or a vocalist. Not that I want to sound exactly like Miles or or anyone in particular. But the way I think about practice is if if I don't actually try it out, if I don't try playing along with someone like that, I'm never going to know.
Mm.
I may as well go there and just see how it influences my playing,
Yeah.
and then just leave it, and then come back and try something else. Something like Gran Torino. I'll go back to you again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a bit lower. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, I think so. Very nice.
Not bad. Yeah. So I don't know. I think the tendency to I know for a while when I was trying to play that, yeah, it's always a tendency to want to rush the phrasing because piano and stick are kind of similar like that. The percussion instruments, So it's really easy to. Even then, I'm still saying it in my head. I'm saying, settle it down, relax. You're just playing for your friends all over the world. But that's there's just that tendency to want to, really just fall ahead of yourself a lot. It's okay if you're banging out some bass line, but really when it comes to, playing music, like especially ballads, I really noticed that thing from Ralph Towner. It's just like this, so much time. They take so much time and space to play their stuff. Good thing to consider, like holding off. Just wait.
Let it breathe like a nice red wine.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a bad red wine. Let it breathe even longer.
I had one of those watching Ralph Towner. It was pretty nice. So where is your music, Mr. Barlow? What's going on?
I definitely need to get my hind end in gear and start getting songs together to do a set list because I've been dragged out on stage. Played live, I think, maybe 3 or 4 times in the last year, and a couple times with guitar. I have a coworker who has an entertainment company on the side, so sometimes he brings musicians from across the country up here, and he might do a small gig in a little coffee shop or something. And one time the opening act didn't show up, and guess what I got to do? It's like he threw a guitar in my hand and, here, play something, Steve. So, and then I have another friend who's an elementary school teacher, and he asked me to actually be one of the exhibits in a science fair. Ironically, his last name is Chapman, no relation. And I was surprised when I come in there, I see this flyer and it says, do you know what a Chapman stick is? So it's a thing for little kids to earn points. You go to the different exhibits, and that was one of those exhibits.
Wow.
And all these little kids are looking up at me like, oh my gosh, there really is a Chapman stick. We thought Mr. Chapman was just pulling our leg, and they denied that there'd be a musical instrument named after their teacher, and then there it is. But yeah, I played for like 3 hours on my about an hour and a half maybe on the grand, and then I put the grand down and I pulled out the NS. I do know a little bit of the Linus and Lucy, Charlie Brown theme, and that was a huge hit, especially the teachers. They absolutely loved it. I think I must have played that about 10, 20 times. But I was able to, the cool thing about the stick, like what you're doing with the triads and that, a lot of what I did was just an hour and a half of improvisation on chords, just going around doing, different modes and different chord progressions, and it worked out really well, and I enjoyed it. So, from there I got to just, put songs together. So, and like I said, I do take a lot of guitar lessons. Glenn Plorman is also another guy besides Steve Osborne. Glenn has things going up at Interlaken, which is a couple 100 miles north of us, and beautiful location. Interlaken's the big arts and music college where a lot of kids go to in the summer for summer camp and that, and then there's also full-time students there. But every other year there's a stick seminar there, and in the in-between years I'm going to the guitar things there, and I learn a whole lot from these people. Like Lawrence Juber was teaching us alternate tunings, dadgad tuning in the guitar. So a lot of cool opportunities to learn from people. We also had Tom Griesgraber just show up, as well as Bob was here, but Tom was here, I think, on tour with Burt Lambs, and he showed up for a little mini stick seminar. And I'll tell you what, it's the first time I took a class with him, and the thing I enjoyed from him is we worked on some odd time signatures. I love it when we deal with time, because one of the things going back to like 2009, my sense of timing was crap. And when I took the first seminar with Greg Howard, he had some kind of exercise and dealt with keeping a pulse, dealing with time, and he really turned me around. And when I came back that week to Steve Osborne, Steve noticed my playing totally changed. He says, "Wow, you're playing on time. You're hitting things right on the money like I never had been before on any instrument." So, for me, some of this is so cool, but the one thing that does lack is I see not enough emphasis on timekeeping. Odd time signatures, how to keep your pulse going. Think AC/DC. I mean, a lot of people. The cool thing that was so cool about AC/DC's music is that they may not have been fancy like say Rush or some of the stuff Led Zeppelin did, but the one thing they did was their timekeeping was solid, and they had a groove going. And if you talk to somebody that's not a musician about what their favorite rock bands were, that often comes up a lot because they could actually dance to AC/DC as one of the few rock bands that played hard rock that had a solid groove to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see more of that about timekeeping and doing some of this stuff. Tom had some song. I'm sorry, it's off of his Unnamed Lands. He was going through that. It had it doesn't seem like very difficult, but when he starts explaining it was some odd. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the time signature was, but it really was fascinating to me. I've not seen this kind of instruction before. So, between the stick community, Steve Osborne, Glenn Porman, I'm being exposed to a lot of professionals. I've never seen this. It's like life just began for me musically with, being over 40 years old. I've been playing since I was some kind of instrument since I was in 4th grade, but never to the extent till I took up the Chapman stick. I mean, just absolutely amazing the people I've met.
That's awesome. Yeah,
so, I need to get off my, with all this stuff going on, I need to get off my ass and learn songs. It's biting me in the hind end because now I got people dragging me on stage, and I better start doing something, or somebody to say, "What the hell are you doing, Steve?" Start playing some stuff. But
there's so much to be said for like what you're saying about playing the essentials. I reckon. I think it's really good to keep an eye on like the conceptual out there-ness of stick, but it's just as important at the same time as to keep my eye on the really basic stuff, really strong essential music fundamentals.
Yeah.
That's only going to help the out there stuff kind of go forward. And the Phil Rudd, drumming with AC/DC. Mm-hmm. I mean that is the rock band, really, the groove band, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like, Lars Ulrich from Metallica he said openly that he went back to listen to Phil Rudd just to get his groove down for Enter Sandman.
Yeah. Another good inspiration, a couple of years ago I picked up Neil Peart's Anatomy of a Drum Solo.
Right.
You see how great of a drummer he is. And after all these albums, he goes back to school to study with his old drum teacher that's, pretty up in age there, and learn jazz techniques. And he's gone back to kind of using the standard way of holding a drumstick. And you see that, and you listen to the latest Rush album, you can hear what that's accomplished in his playing. It's like, he never really considers himself a master of the drums. He just keeps on learning, even at his level. There's always something to learn. So it's, try to keep that balance. I don't want to be going to school all the time and just learn. I want to play something, come up with my own stuff. You got to play too, and have that. So you got to kind of learn that balance between theory and practice, and try to get that going.
There's one thing that Evil Gus and I said last week was with the test run was something I think as you get, everyone knows what kind of expression, what musical life they want, you know. But basically, it's as you get on, I think, especially as you mature, you know, of working out if I want to play at this level, I want to play this kind of music, I've got to make sure that I practically get on and practice those things that are actually going to support that music. Otherwise, I'm just going to drive myself crazy with this idea of who I want to be as opposed to actually practicing what I need to do to sustain that kind of thing. It's actually something that stick players don't talk a lot about is what Michael Brecker said. He called it, what did he call it? Maintenance chops, or you know, like having a series of things to practice that, you know, you don't have to spend half an hour on it every day, or even just like 15 minutes on 3 different exercises that help to support. You know, it might just be, you know, nice chromatics or. I could do that all day because I somehow love to practice. I like the feeling of getting it right and this kind of comfort that comes from being more grounded through playing better, and you know. But then I don't know, just take something else and that's going to support my songs and help practice, help me play better. Yeah, it's just
I think the one thing that I have accomplished that I did get some nice compliments on, you know, you guys know I'm an avid mountain biker, and I got into the whole GoPro thing and making those videos and then doing the music to it. And one of the last ones I did, I came up with some really good scores. You know, I record into Logic, play the guitar, and actually, it's funny, the person who really helped me get some you know, good quality sounds, Andy Silvanos. He's the one who turned me on to the Zoom G3 pedal, and I don't have a tube guitar amp anymore. I just use that pedal for some reason. It works for me, and now that I've got one of the QSC Audio K12 speakers, that goes in there, and I'm perfectly happy with it. And I'm pretty happy because it was only like, I don't know, $200-300, not even barely $200, you know. And it's like that gets more use out of anything else I had for guitar, getting those tube sounds. And then plus you got all the great delays in that for the stick and everything else that I tie into it. It gets a lot of use. So I'm really grateful for Andy getting me in that direction. But yeah, and a lot of people love those songs that I put in those. You know, I posted on the local mountain bike forums, and I got people coming back to me and say, "Wow, that's some pretty cool music you did there." So, I was pretty happy with that. So a lot of stuff that I've done that people can hear is actually, you know, recorded on video.
Yeah. Well, we got to wind it up, I think. Evil Gus.
Yeah. I've got to head off to a gig. Not stick, unfortunately. It's just it's a wedding, so I'll be playing bass. But yeah, got a bit of driving to do. So.
Shall I play 1 minute of?
Yeah, throw in something else.
Right. So,
another lost tune from last week.
Hey.
Another lost tune from last week.
Yeah. I'll have to give it an Aussie send off. You know, Great Southern Land.
Oh yeah.
You know. The abridged
Nice.
version. All right. Wow. There's always more to say, right? It's pretty amazing.
There's always another time.
Yeah. And big thanks to GP, Gene Perry, and
Yeah, help setting it up.
yeah, Rob Stefarian, and thanks for doing the hosty, me old.
Not a
Your
problem.
turn.
Thank you, Conrad. Oh, I'll have to actually remember how to play first.
Those gnarly bugger baselines.
Yeah, I'll get the hands working. I better sneak it. I'll sneak it along to a gig and just accidentally forget to bring a bass. And just go, oh, sorry guys, I forgot my bass, but I did remember this strange-looking Chapman stick, so I'll have to use that instead.
It's a 10-string bass. That's all it is.
Exactly. Yeah. The body wings fell off.
Yep.
On the vibrations of the road. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Conrad. Thanks for dropping in, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Great to see you.
Guys,
Bye.
have a good weekend.
See ya.
See ya.